who said Obaseki didn't work in Edo, he lied. Obaseki have worked in Edo, and we, the Edo people, we appreciate him. We say we love him for that. Obaseki start from the middle of nowhere. Now, the systems in Edo are now working. The systems are working. All the working sectors are now digitalized. Obaseki starts from the middle of darkness. Now there's now light. He have lightened up Edo. Anyone who will continue from him, it will start from light, not darkness anymore. You will be listening to him, Governor Godwin Obaseki, how he could analyze on issues in Edo State. He only take meta capacity of any governor, of any leader to analyze, to do this analysis without looking at the written note or script. This is what I've been talking about, that we need a governor. We need a candidate who has all what it takes, the meta capacity, the necessary skills to manage situation. It takes meta capacity to define problems clearly to people understanding like this. It takes meta capacity to understand the root causes of problems. It takes meta capacity to gather information and to analyze on data. It takes meta capacity to do all of that. It takes meta capacity to identify problems in a society. It takes meta capacity to define solutions, boundaries, and constraints. It takes meta capacity. It takes meta capacity to evaluate potential solutions to problems. It takes meta capacity to do all of this. It takes meta capacity to implement and monitor problems and situations effectively. It takes meta capacity. Listen to my amiable governor. May God bless you, my governor.
Your left hand as we go into tomorrow, because no more campaigns, no more partisan conversation. It's going to be eyes on how you're going to go to the polls, wherever you may be. If you're out of Benin City or Edo State, put your eyes, follow Channels Television as we cover all of the election for you. But there is one man that has put himself in this race. His name is not on the ballot, but his interest is perhaps as great as those whose names are on the ballot. He's the governor of Edo State, Governor Godwin Obaseki. Is live with us right here in our Benin City studio. Thank you so much, Your Excellency, for joining us today.
Thank you very much. Thank you for coming to Benin.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it. For the first time, you are not going to be on the ballot on Saturday.
Yes.
How does that feel?
Well, you can only have 2 terms as a governor. I knew my term will come to an end on November 12th this year. And so I'm adjusted to that. I wasn't expecting to be on the ballot. However, I naturally will have an interest in who succeeds me, particularly because of the amount of work and reforms that we've undertaken in the last 8 years of our politics. So much has happened, so much has changed, so much is still at a nascent stage. And so it's important that the process of guiding Edo to being great again must be to make sure that whoever succeeds me can continue on the trajectory that we currently are.
Is that the reason why you brought your friend to succeed?
Well, Aswe Godalo has always been part of the Edo reform agenda since 2016, when we constituted a team to bring in Madam Socio-economic and put in place an economic program that saw him through.
So you worked for Madam Socio-economic?
He was part of the economic team I chaired.
Which you headed?
Yes. So he's not a stranger to this process.
So is that the reason? I mean, does that explain why you have to bring your friend? Because there are those who think that this is now becoming a party agenda.
It's beyond that, Shimon. You see, what we must understand is that development is a process, and you can't bring in strange bedfellows and expect to have a coherent, consistent, and aligned program. In 2016, when we decided to come and support the reform agenda, Edo was at its lowest in terms of economic growth, in terms of physical development, and a lot of us Edo citizens in Lagos who were doing well, relatively doing well, were just concerned. And there were quite a few more. He wasn't the only one. There were about a dozen of us who came together and said, enough of the lamentation. Let's support the process of reform. Let's contribute, selflessly, by the way. I mean, as we go down, when I called him to join the team in 2016, in the first meeting, said, look, he's not here to waste his time. And if the governor at that time was not prepared to accept and work with the reform agenda, that he was going to pull out. And the first meeting, I recall him saying he didn't want any allowances. He wasn't part of the process of, he didn't come here for allowances. He wanted to pay to serve. So it's always been about service. It's always been about contributing to the development of Edo. And I think for us, the common factor, that underlying factor was that here we were, I'll say from Edo State, relatively successful in our various chosen professions, but couldn't come home, because we're all worried and concerned about what was going on at home. And then, like I said, we were at the lowest ebb. Edo was the butt of jokes in Nigeria at that time. The women were held in such, in such low esteem. If comedians were the joke of comedians. What is the capital of Italy? They say Edo State, for instance. The children were not going to school.
Have you changed any of those?
Phenomenally.
You have figures to support that. I mean, you are a man who dealt in a lot of figures when you were in the private sector.
Definitely.
Because there are a lot of people, there was a very big banner when you were running for office the first time in 2016, and you said it was very bold about 1,000 of jobs that you said you were going to
200,000 jobs. And
you've done that.
We have exceeded that substantially.
Can you break it down for us? Where these jobs are? Because those who are working and those who are in Benin City or Edo State generally, I will imagine, I don't have a job, I cannot feed. Where is the governor getting these figures and this from?
What we've done in Edo is kind of substantially improve the environment to do business. As of 2016, the level of migration out of Edo State was outstanding. At a point in time, the International Office of Migration came and showed me data where Edo clearly ranked tops in terms of irregular migration and human trafficking. And at some point, there were almost 30,000 Edo boys and girls in Libya waiting and hoping to cross into Europe. Today, Edo is not top 10, on that list of people who are migrating irregularly out of the country. If anything, we're seeing people migrating into Edo State at an alarming rate. Most of our villages are full of foreigners who are seeking opportunities in agriculture. In most of our cities, Benin City, Ekpoma, Auchi, you're seeing rapid infrastructural growth, rapid growth in housing, and most of the workers around sites are from outside of the state. So the data is there, the evidence is there, the economy has grown rapidly. In fact, almost 10 times size in real terms since 2016. And that growth has been where the jobs have come from. Jobs have come from areas like IT, jobs have come from agriculture, jobs have come from technology, I can from construction, I can go on and on and on. So the underlying economic growth in the state has been the key driver for jobs.
But there are those who will say, if you say these jobs are being, you provided these jobs, what was the unemployment rate when you got into office? What is it now? You are going to be exiting in a matter of months. Where did you meet it, and what is it now? What are the indices?
The challenge with Nigeria is data. When it comes to data, such discrete data, yes, you'll find some data that said, unemployment was about 77%. But when you disaggregate that data, it's like, okay, in which areas, which sectors, what's the demographics of them? What I know, however, is that today, whereas we were not creating as much as 10,000 jobs a year in 2016, today we're creating in excess of 50,000 jobs a year. And I can point to where these jobs are coming from.
But why has the indices of the unemployment rate not gone down?
Well, because
if you say you're providing the jobs,
like I said, because of the way that data is calculated or put together. But let me tell you, for it. Take agriculture. Just take oil palm, right? In the last 3 years, we've put about 70,000 hectares of land under oil palm cultivation by over 10 companies. Each hectare employs about 2 to 3 people. So whether it's land preparation, it's preparing the nurseries, planting and maintaining the estates. So in the area of agriculture, just oil palm, not to talk about cassava, not to talk about the industries that have come in, you're looking at thousands of jobs on an annual basis. And that's why I'm sure on a flight to Benin, a day or two ago when you came in, the planes were full. This premises you're using, check occupancy, is full. And this facility and many others like this were not here 5 years ago.
So you think that you have changed things around?
Yes, definitely.
In terms of GDP, what is that looking like? In terms of your revenue, internally generated revenue, how have you grown that?
Well, in terms of GDP, in 2016, our GDP, after the rebasing of Nigeria's GDP, was about $10 billion. Today it's in excess of $26 billion. In terms of revenues, when I came into office, we're struggling with revenues, monthly IGR of about 1.8, 1.9 billion a month. Today, in fact, just looking at the numbers for August, we were at 6.5 billion a month. So we've seen the IGR treble, we've grown 3 times. And in terms of IGR ranking in Nigeria today, Edo is number 6. Number 1 is Lagos, number 2 is FCT, number 3...
In terms of the figures and in terms of the growth?
In terms of figures. In absolute terms, we're number 6. And see the states that are ahead of us. Lagos, FCT, River State, Ogun, Delta, right? And we come 6. At number 6, we're bigger than Kano. We're bigger than Oyo State, for instance. So that tells you so much has happened here. So from about the ranking of 22, we're now at number 6.
Well, the question would then be, yes, you got this lots of money, and then there will be those who will say, since you got into office, you've received in excess of over 100 billion as a governor. What have you done with that? Some roads, your opponent will criticize you to say they are in a devastating form, and you can list a whole lot of roads in Edo State that are being devastated and left in and now it's in fact raining, and some of these roads are impassable. So if you say you've gotten these loads and loads of money, how do you defend to the people of Edo State who voted into office that this is what you use their money for?
Well, I think it's rather sad that you evaluate development just in terms of things, infrastructure like roads alone. Roads are important, but they're important for a purpose. What do they do? Why do you build infrastructure like roads, electricity? Why? It's to improve the human conditions and human circumstances. In the case of Edo State, it's on record, the data is there. There is no government in Edo State that has built as many roads as my government. Over the last 8 years, we've built in excess of 1,400 kilometers of road. And what is interesting about these roads are they are internal roads to Edo State. Edo has a very significant opportunity in terms of its location. Edo is at the hub of transportation in Nigeria. So you cannot go from the western part of Nigeria, from Lagos west, to the east, or to the south, or to the north without going through Edo. And all of those road networks are federal roads. So Edo, for instance, has, one of the largest network of federal roads, and they crisscross even the center of the city. So whether it's the road coming in from Lagos Obowo Road, which is a major artery, it's a federal road. I can't touch it, they will not allow me to fix it. Whether it's the road going south-south to Sapele, to Warri, that's a federal road, I can't touch it. And the federal government will not fix it. Whether it's the one going to the north, the Auchi Road, Akopaba Road, these are all federal roads. Even when we've appealed to the federal government to allow us, it hasn't happened. I'll give you an example.
But states actually construct federal roads and get repayment later on.
No more. It used to be, but not anymore. And I'll tell you, we've even had some more interesting road financing for roads. Take the Benin-Asaba Road, right? We joined the concessionaires to be partners with the concessionaires so that that road can be fixed. Money has been raised, but for 1 year, the federal government has refused to give final approval. So what do we do? So what we've done instead is to build our own alternative state roads. So if you are going to Edo North, for instance, today, you don't have to go through the main federal road. You just go through our roads, the ones we've constructed from Sobe to Sabongidaora, for instance, going into Edo North. On the eastern flank, ditto the same thing. So we're constructing alternative internal state roads.
But these roads are often flooded, Governor.
Not the ones we have designed recently and built. The roads you will talk about are maybe the roads in the GRA when they were designed and built many, many years ago. They didn't have need for drainage. But today, there's been 2 master drainage plans and studies and construction that has occurred that we are now using to plan construction of roads.
Do you know the name they call you? Mr. MOU, the MOU governor.
Yes.
You signed a lot of that.
Yes.
Well, how much of that have you practically bring to bear?
Very interesting, because the president just came from China and he signed quite a few. And why MOUs? You sign memoranda of understanding when you want to bring in a partner to do a business with you. So, everything we've done for us as government, our responsibility is not to do business. It's to partner and bring in partners to do business with us. The responsibility of government is to provide the enabling environment for business to happen. And since you are not the one putting your money in a particular venture, you have to sign an understanding with that person that you will do certain things for that project to happen. And that is what we have done. And fortunately for us, 80% of the MOUs we've signed have materialized.
80%?
80%.
Can you name some of these projects?
So, take the Edo refinery project, for instance. It's up and running.
Is it on stream now?
It's on stream.
How much of content does it produce per day?
Well, when it gets crude allocations, it produces everything. But
has it been tested? Has it been primed?
Precisely. So if you have time, I'll ask you to just visit and see yourself. But the opposition has a very powerful negative machinery because they were not able to do this. If you look at a retail space, for instance, ShopRite, struggled to have retail malls, for instance. Today, it's there for you to see. We're building what's it called, a major 4-star hotel with the Radisson Group. It's there. These are all projects.
Is that still in the hands of? Because there are those who say that now has fallen into you and your friends' hands. Well, it's off the state government's hands, and the state government has spent money.
Government has recovered more. It's all its money plus a profit. So we recovered all our money, and we have a 20% stake. That's the whole idea of financial engineering: creating things when you don't have the money and making it happen.
And this, you mentioned only 2 of this MOU.
You know, everything else, whether it's the ethanol plant, the greenfield ethanol plant, I can go, just mention the MOU we've signed, and I'll show you the project.
All right, we're due for a break. We take a break, everyone. Governor Godwin Obaseki is still with me. There are those who say, he said, is a do or die, this election. I'm going to ask him why he says so. Why his party refused to sign the peace accord? And going into this election, as the governor, does that portend well for the people of Edo State? This and more after this time out, everyone. We'll be right back. Thanks so much, everyone, for staying with us. Welcome back to the program. Let's get to our conversation now with Governor Godwin Obaseki, the Executive Governor of Edo State. Thanks so much indeed for your time today.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, so, I mean, you will be winding down, your administration will gradually be winding down, but how would you say you have impacted on the lives of the Edo people? The mandate that they gave you, would you say today that you have been able to do well to the people of Edo State?
On September 21st, you will see, Sheung, because you have parents of about 400,000 children in my basic education system whose children's lives have been impacted. The children in our school systems are not learning. I have almost 300,000 young men and women who we've found places for, found jobs for, we've given trainings to, who today are doing things for themselves. Just drive around Benin City and, a few other cities like Ekpoma and Auchi and see the number of SMEs, small businesses that, have taken off in the last few years. Look at the civil service. We have about 40,000 civil servants today who are today technologically literate. We run a government that's paperless. We pay the highest minimum wage in Nigeria. Our government is working for the people once again. I can go on and on, Jill, that I'm so confident because I've walked around the state. I have seen the improvements, I've seen the changes that have occurred, and Edo people, don't want to go back to those dark days.
Why does it look like a lot of people are still not happy?
A lot of politicians,
because they believe that you've not done enough.
A lot of politicians are not happy.
Would you be able to beat your chest that you have done your best?
Absolutely.
And you are able to utilize all the resources to the best of your ability for the people of this state?
Look at the data. It's not me saying it. Ask international agencies like the World Bank. Ask people like the Gates Foundation. I mean, these are people who work with us on an ongoing basis and support have supported all our reform projects and agenda. And they're so always willing to use Edo as the case study, as the example, and throw resources and support to just help.
But what about the debt that you still hanging around the necks of the state?
No. Still, they talk about debts. We are the government that's taking the least debts. What has happened is that the bulk of the debts we have are foreign debts, international debts, mostly from the World Bank. These are 20, 30-year-old, debts with 20 years moratorium with less than 1% interest. So the servicing of those debts is not burdensome at all. And the challenge we've had is every time the federal government devalues its currency, the debt stock goes up, not because we borrowed more.
You've always blamed the federal government. You think that they've badly handled the economy.
Shame. Nigeria is technically bankrupt. And
is there a way out?
Well, when you are bankrupt anywhere in the world, like in the States, you file for what you call Chapter 11. You restructure your affairs so that you can reorganize and be able to meet your obligations. Nigeria is not restructuring in that sense. It's still behaving as if it had money, like it used to.
So Nigeria is in trouble financially.
It's been in trouble for a while. And
we're insolvent. That's what you mean.
I won't say insolvent. I'm saying we just
when you say we're bankrupt.
Technically, in the sense that we don't have enough to cover our expenditure, and we're not reducing our expenditure, and we're not earning more.
If you had the opportunity to change things around, what would you do?
It's a total redesign. First, the federal government does not have the capacity anymore to manage the economy on the scale and way it is doing today. You're producing 1.3 million barrels of oil, right? Because you're trying to do it centrally. We have 147 oil wells in Edo. Only 53 or less are producing. So, except you create a new design where you ask the component parts of this country to go and take advantage of the economic opportunities they have, sweat the assets of this country, and pay what they need to pay to the central government. But for the central government to sit and try to micromanage the country and the assets of the country, it's just shown that it cannot. It just doesn't have the capacity.
You were saying that the government was printing money, and there were deniers about that. But it does look like months later, do you feel like there are things that this present government is also doing that are untoward, economically speaking?
I think for me, it's like this federal government is stuck in the past, because you cannot resolve a malignant problem using the same tools you have used through the years. It's not that the people there are not smart, it's not that they're stupid. It's more that they just don't have the courage to take some of the decisions that they need to be taken. The structure we have today, the problem of Nigeria today is structural. The structure we have is expired. It's outdated. We need a new structure to run the economy of the state.
So a restructuring must happen.
If we're just wasting time, if it doesn't happen, we're not going to move forward.
Let me bring you to something that you said that a lot of people are bothered about. Why do you think that this election is a do or die affair?
It's a do or die because if they do, we die. If they do, we die. The level of impunity, the level of recklessness we see in the opposition party, if they take over Edo State, finish, that's the end.
But that's a very dangerous language that you have used. As a governor, a sitting governor,
yes.
When you tell your people and your followers that this election is a do or die, do you regret making that kind of statement?
I don't. If you know what has happened in the last few weeks, you worry for Nigeria. Just drive down the line. A former governor of the state has more security cover than a current sitting governor. Has 2 APCs, armored personnel carriers, in front of his premises. A former governor campaigning in the opposition part for the opposition, my opposition, is using police helicopters to campaign for the opposition in Nigeria. As I speak, all day today, you have armed policemen across the state trying to arrest political opponents.
Do you have evidence of such a person?
Definitely, but you played a video last night of one of the people that was almost been abducted, and for the luck he had with a woman who screamed out was released. At 2 a.m. today in Aganabode, 2 people were kidnapped or arrested. This afternoon again in Eastern Central, which attempted to. You can't run in the state.
But these are some of the people they say you are harboring. These are some of the people that the police say they are looking for.
For what?
They say that you are harboring them in the government house. If the police is investigating a murder of a police officer, why are you not allowing the police to do his job?
It's a joke. How can the police be so biased in its so-called investigation? A crime was committed a month and a half ago at an occasion organized and orchestrated by the opposition party. There was no member of PDP at that event. The IGP said he was investigating, and that's why he held people in detention without trial for over 3 weeks. Now, those charges were filed after pressure on the IGP. Do you know what they were charged for? They were not charged for murder. They were charged for illegal possession of firearms. You see, when you see such inconsistencies, it just tells you that, we are running, a very dangerous course.
So you don't have confidence in the police?
If you see what they have done, the evidence of what they have done, and the blatant way they've gone about it, it's like they forget that the police is being funded by taxpayers' money, Nigerian taxpayers' money. And they should just be a bit more professional and and unbiased.
The opposition has said this is Godwin Obaseki, who is afraid of the fact that his party is going to lose this election. That's why he's crying foul.
No. It's that the opposition is setting up a ploy to rig these elections.
Your party has said that there are plans to rig these elections.
Yes.
Do you have evidence to that?
Yes.
But this is just...
Yes, but the people will block them. I can assure you, you're in Benin, you will see. The people, why the intimidation of the opposition? Why the scaremongering?
When you say intimidation, how?
I'm telling you that there are teams, police teams on the prowl across the states trying to arrest opposition.
Is there anything that you are afraid of, Governor?
I'm not. Why should I be afraid of it?
Where are those people in your government house? They say that they are searching for, but you keep...
Why are they searching for them?
Why are you not allowing them to be investigated?
Why should I allow people to be abducted? Based on what? And if you do, why not try them for the offenses where you claim that the offenses have taken place?
So you keep harboring them? And
because you cannot. I will not allow the police to come. And as chief security officer of Edo State, I have the responsibility to protect my citizens. If there is an offense, if there's issues relating to security in Edo State, then I think the Constitution says, as CEO, the chief security officer, whoever the command should work with me to ensure speedy trial and dispensation of justice.
So what you complained to General Abdul Salami has still not changed?
Nothing changed.
Nothing has changed.
Nothing has changed.
You think that the opposition
what has
is
changed,
in cahoot with?
What has changed is that the people who were detained in Abuja were sent to court. And the court has now granted them bail. But more people are still being haunted and arrested.
To what end do you think this is all
It's just to threaten, to scare. You see, the opposition understands and know that we're going to defeat them mercilessly because they really haven't sold anything.
There is a path to victory for your party.
Clearly, what is the opposition selling? What is the APC government telling Edo people?
The political dynamics and all of there are those who believe that in Edo North, the APC will have a landslide. Where there is a Philip Shaibu.
No, Philip never won his election, so it's not an issue.
This was someone who said he helped you. Without him, you would never become a governor.
Well, the help it wasn't justified in the votes we got from his place. But he's inconsequential politically. Let's focus on Edo North. Edo North is made up of Akoko Edo, made up of the Onwas and the Esakos. And today, I clearly will, without missing words, know that half of Akoko Edo is clearly PDP. The only area that we may struggle, and I say may, is a few wards in Esako West. Outside that,
even in your own senatorial district, Obedient, they say, have taken over. Your party lost in the presidential election.
Yes.
So there are those who say the path to victory is unclear and is not there.
It's very, very clear.
Your candidate is going to be up against the sitting senator and against the...
It's very clear. We just finished a continuous voter registration exercise where we registered 175,000 new voters and transfers. That's, so if you look at the statistics and the data, I'll be shocked if we don't win these elections with a margin of almost 70%.
You don't think an Apata can mess you up in your own senatorial district? Well, because he's grown so popular.
Well, I don't know where the popularity is. Certainly not in Oredo, not in Ego, not in Mpobaka.
And you don't look at the trend of
40% of the votes come
the
from.
Labour Party in the last election?
Well, yes, at the presidential election, there was sure, and we know why. But in subsequent elections, Labour has only one seat in the House of Assembly.
And you're not worried about your relationship also with the Oba of Benin? There are what's on the street about how things have gone sour between
you see, what we've
you and the royal house.
Nothing has gone sour. What we've tried to do is to separate the traditional institution, which we revere so much, from our politics. Politicians try to drag the traditional institutions into politics for some advantage or the other. And so what we have done as a government is to separate this heritage we have from our politics. You can mess around with ourselves, but don't mess around with the traditional institutions.
But there are those who will say, yes, some wicked helped you the last time, he's not going to be on your side this time around. Is that a trouble for you? And he said that he's not going to support you this time around.
Well,
He showed you how to win an election the last time.
Well,
Didn't.
he came to get Edo people to vote for me, right?
That's what he said.
Well, Edo people are not that dumb. They know who to vote for. They will not. They don't require the services of an outsider to make their decisions. And it's not going to happen. Edo people will make their decisions this time because they know what they want.
Are you worried about your relationships with your political associates? And how you have handled things? Do you regret some of the way your relationships have been?
For us to have made the progress we have made, trying to understand what has happened over the years, we've shifted the basis of our politics. We've, the tensions you may have observed is because we've decided not to do things the way it has always been done. Revenues are limited. We've taken more of the revenues of government and made it available by providing more services to our people, like education, like health. So clearly someone who used to benefit without corresponding service or corresponding work is clearly likely not to be very happy with what we've done.
So you don't regret your fallout with an Adam Socio-economic, a Philip Shoaibu, a Matthew Rohide, a Yinston Wike, and the rest of the flock folks will abandon you, who were with you 7 years ago?
Well, so Nigeria has to change. There has to be a new thinking if we're going to make progress. The last 8 years have seen a fundamental shift and change in Edo State. I have almost 500,000 children who are now learning, who now have confidence, who now have a future. If that is the benefit of the fallout, I have no regrets. And I'll require more fallouts. So for us, politics should be about the people, not personalities. Politics should be about utilizing the resources available to people, which is not much anymore, for the greater good. So if people get angry that they've been prevented and stopped from misusing public revenues in the name of politics for the benefit of the people, and it's now being used for the benefit of the people, and that has created quarrel, then I believe it's in the best interest of our
Governor, we're totally out of time. But what would you say is the legacy you want to leave behind as a governor of the state?
I want the world to know that I came in as governor with Edo at the bottom, and I'm leaving as governor, having moved Edo from that bottom to a place where it now has pride, it now has realized its potentials, and I'm going to be, by the grace of God, handing over to somebody who's going to take it even much higher, so that our people can live their lives to the fullest. Yeah. Because this is a land that has truly been blessed by God.
Quickly, the opposition says they will beat you mercilessly. They will give your party a bloody nose. The APC is very confident. The Labour Party is confident about that. That you do not have a chance, and Asu Ighodalo is not in this race. That's what the opposition is saying.
Well, they must be daydreaming. On the 21st, we'll see.
All right, Governor, just as we close, just in 20 seconds, if you look at the camera, as the governor of Edo State, the people of the state who go out on Saturday to vote, a sentence to them about how important this election is.
On Saturday, 21st of September, we will be deciding whether Edo wants to move forward or move backwards. The only person I knew today in the ballot that I'm confident can take Edo to that next level, just to move it to that next level,